Good morning, students. Welcome to all of you in video lectures. So now in this lectures we have to study the installation and operation of underground power transmission lines as well as overhead transmission towers. Right. So how to operate or how to install the power transmission lines above the grounds or below the ground that we have to study in the video lectures. Right. So already we have studied the power generation structures, right? So now from the power generation source, then we have to supply the lines or electricity to the consumers or to the customers. It may be residential, it may be commercial, it may be industrial, or it may be agricultural purpose, right? So whenever the power generation lines, it may be passed from the below the grounds or above the grounds, or we can consider overhead transmission lines, right? So that you have to study in the video lecture. So now introduction, right? So means we have sufficient electricity, right? And that electricity you have to distribute or you have to supply from one point to another point, right? So now see in introduction part. So distribution of electricity involves the transfer of electrical energy from one electric substation to another electrical substation through sub-transmission and distribution lines. These lines may be overhead lines or underground lines or underground cables, right? So there are different substations. Electric substation means from one electric substation to another electric substation, that line we have to pass or we have to supply through sub-transmission and distribution lines. So there are different lines, right? So distribution lines, right, from one substation or one point to another point, and that is the transfer of electric energy, right? The transfer of electric energy may be overhead lines or underground cables, right? Second point, each of two types has its benefit as well as some demerits, right? It may be there are some advantage of this method, that is overhead lines or underground cables, or there are some disadvantage also, right? So which one is good, which one is more beneficial or more advantageous, right? There are some advantages of this method, or there are some disadvantages also of these methods, right? The choice of overhead network or underground network depends on many factors, right? So there are different choices or there are different conditions, right? So according to that you have to decide or you have to give choice for the overhead network or underground network, right? There are some factors, right? So which factors are like safety requirement, right of way, cost, aesthetic look, and other factors, right? So first, that is safety important, right? So which one is suitable or which one is convenient to the people, or which one is good from the safety point of view, that you have to first, that is the first requirement, right? Second is the right of way. So right of way means, suppose if it is alignment, right? So whether it passes from the rivers, or it is passing from the bridges, or it may be over bridges or below the bridges, right? So right of way is also very important, right? Suppose if it is very congested area, dense area, right? So there is not possible of overhead network, right? So at that time we have to consider the underground cables, right? So there are some factors. So according to that, or there are some conditions, according to that you have to decide the overhead networks and underground network. Cost is also very important. Aesthetic look is also very important, right? So you cannot just spread the wires like randomly. It may be processed, or it may be there are some aesthetic look disturbs, right? So according to that conditions, we have to decide the overhead networks or underground network, right? Despite being expensive, underground cables have several advantages over overhead lines, right? So there are some more advantages of these underground cables as compared to overhead lines, but we cannot sure, right? So there are some advantages and disadvantages, but according to that conditions or according to some factors, we have to decide the underground or overhead network system. These are mostly used where safe clearance for overhead network. So what is safe clearance? Safe clearance means from the ground to the first about from the ground up to the first wire. So that distance is called as the clearance, right? So how much safe clearance is available from the ground? So if it is safe clearance is available, then we can provide the overhead network, right? These are mostly used where safe clearance for overhead network is not available, as well as densely populated areas where overhead network cannot be used, where as overhead network is cheaper, easy to install, upgrade, and easy to attend the fault. Means if in any fault, if it is any installation process, if it is any upgrade, right? So in that case we can consider overhead network is good. But if it is safe clearance is not available, then we have to install or we have to operate the underground cable system, right? Now first there is overhead network, right? So overhead network means the lines which is passes from the above the grounds, right? Not below the ground, right? So at one it may be 9 meters or it may be 13 meters, it may be 10 meters or 15 meters. That it depends upon the conditions or depends upon the how much space is available, right? Because safety is important. It should not be interacting with each other, right? So in between two wires you have to maintain the distance also, right? It should not be there are chance of short circuits also, right? So in overhead power lines, a structure based network is used to transmit electric energy from one point to another point. It consists of adequate size of conductors. So there are different sizes of conductors. So by using that conductors, we can transfer or we can supply the energy from one point to another point, right? But for this chain or for this supply of lines, we require different types of pole. That pole may be steel pole, right? So in the steel pole, that is tubular poles, rolled steel joints and rails, right? It may be concrete pole, right? So in concrete pole it may be RCC or it may be PCC poles, and pre-stressed concrete pole also of various heights of 9 meters and to 13 meters, that is depending upon the site locations, minimum safety clearance and voltage, right? So again there are conditions, right? So it depends upon site conditions, it depends upon minimum safety clearance, and depends upon the voltage, right? So if it is location is good, right? Site locations means if it is low bearing capacity of soil is not good, if it is water logging area, if it is hard rock is not available for the particular foundations, right? So according to that you have to decide whether it is steel pole, whether it is concrete pole, or whether it is pre-stressed concrete pole, right? So it depends upon location, it depends upon minimum safety clearance, and depends upon the voltage. Now voltage, it may be 230 volts, it may be 415 volts, 11 kilowatt or 33 kilowatt of the overhead network system, right? So along with these poles, rail poles which have more strength, right? So we have different types of pole. So in the steel poles, if it is rail pole, right? So it gives more strength as compared to other poles, right? So if it is near the across the roads, if it is public places like schools or hospitals, right? So in that particular area we have to take more and more precautions if overhead network system, right? So safety is important, right? So in that particular locations, in that particular area, we have to use the rail poles, right? It may be residential area, it may be river crossings, right? The system is ideal for rural distribution. So overhead network system is suitable for the rural area, right? Especially attractive for installation in difficult terrain, such as if it is hilly area, if it is forest area, right? So it's very difficult installations, right? Aerial bunch cable is also considered to be best choice for power distribution in congested urban areas with narrow lanes by lanes, right? So if it is congested area, urban areas, So in that particular area we can use the system like aerial bunch cable system is the best system we can consider, and by using these systems we can distribute the power. You can see the overlay network pipe network systems. This is a electric pole, right? Steel pole, roll joist or tubular system also. And then how supplying the powers from one point to another point, or one pole to another pole, how it is connected, right? See the distance between two lines. So below that poles we have to construct one type of foundation for the stabilization purpose, right? So this is the overhead. Now you have to focus on underground network. In underground cable system, the power is transferred from one point to another through underground cables laid in the ground in place of overhead lines on poles on towers. So instead of poles, instead of towers, you have to use the underground cable system below the ground. So you have to pass the cables, right? So that transfer for the lines, or transfer from power lines from one point to another point. So that system is called as the underground cable system. As the cables are not exposed to the air atmosphere, this makes the underground cable system is less susceptible to outage due to the various atmospheric conditions like high wind, storm, thunderstorms, heavy snow, ice storm, right? So if it is overhead network system, right, it affects the high wind, then their system is affect. If it is storm, if it is thunderstorms, or if it is heavy snow or ice, then the overall network system may affects. But underground network system is suitable if it is very high wind, storm, thunderstorms, or heavy snow or heavy ice storms, right? Which is best system we can consider, right? As the cables are not visible on ground, this provide an aesthetic look, right? So the cables are invisible or below the ground, so it provides a good look to the area where these are laid as compared to the overhead lines. So as compared to the overhead lines, underground systems is good for the aesthetic purpose. However, the underground cables have to laid in the proper trenches and also more restoration time in case of any fault as compared to the overhead lines, right? So we have to mark the trenches. We have to excavate the trenches, and in that trenches you have to pass the wires or cables, and you have to supply the power. While selecting the rating of the cables to be used, some of the parameters such as current, carrying capacity, voltage drop, and short circuit rating are important factors to select the economical and optimum size of cable, right? So which type of cables are we have to use, right? But for the selection of these cables, we have to use some parameters such as current carrying capacity, how much current you have to supply, that is 230 kilowatt, 11 kilowatt, or 33 kilowatt, 15 kilowatt, right? So 230 volts, right? So according to that we have to decide the quality or the which type of cable is suitable for that particular location. Voltage drop is also important. Short circuit rating, right? There is chances of short circuit also below the ground, right? So these are some factors while selecting the cables for the below ground loads. So it should be economical, and it should be optimum size of the cables that we have to. You can see the underground network system. So how the lines are passing, right? So one of the trench, so in that 5 to 6 or 6 wires are laid below the ground, and in between there are some insulations, so we have to maintain some distance between two pipelines. So there are some concrete blocks, or we can use the stones also as a insulator, or like in the slab, or in the it may be slab, beam, column, footing. We have to use some covers like that. We have to use some concrete blocks or stones for maintain the distance between two wires. So if it is over underground network system, The lifespan of this cable system is about 40 to 50 years, but over the time the insulation of cable may get damaged or get due to aging, right? So there are the life we can consider 40 to 50 years, but maybe after 10 years or 15 years there are chances of insulation of cables may get damaged and we can due to the aging, right? So as the age increases, means 10 years, 15 years or 20 years, so there are leakages, weaken the parts, or there is a chance of some damages of the cables that we have to maintain properly. Wrong handling of cables, such as damages due to wrong handling or laying of cables, or weaken the insulation of the cables, right? So if you are not maintaining the proper distance, or you are laying of cables improper, right? So because of that also it may be chance of weakness and insulation of cables also. Normally some of the cable faults may be add, right? So there are some chances of faults that we have to consider, and what the faults that we have to understand and that we have to clarify it. The short circuit fault between two conductors due to failure of insulation between two conductors. If insulations is not in proper spaces, there are chances of short circuits between the two conductor or two wires. Earth fault, the earthing fault is also there between the conductor and ground due to the failure of water insulation shape. As open circuit fault caused due to disconnection of the conductor. So if there is any disconnection of the conductor, then there are chances of the faults, right? The choice of whether the to use overhead lines or underground cable must be made keeping in view the safety, reliability and operation constraints. The choice between overhead lines or underground cable is done by technical, environmental and economic consideration, right? So there are some chances, or where there are some choices which system we have to use, or which network is good, but that is depends upon the safety and reliability, right? So there are some technical aspects also we have to consider. There are some environmental aspects also we have to consider, and economic point also we have to consider, right? So there are some advantage and disadvantage that we have to consider, and we have to install the now the comparison between this system, the cost of installation, right? So underground installation is more expensive, right? So obviously if it is trenches, and if it is line passing, or it may be some, there are chances of some waterlogging area in between the lines that we have to take care also, right? So cost of installation in in case of underground system, it is very costly as compared to overhead lines, right? So fault location, identification, repairing time. So if any faults in between the lines, or there is some identification and repairing time, means in case of underground lines, so it is very difficult to identify the faults, right? But we have some advanced equipments, and by that equipment we can identify, right? But as compared to overhead lines, it is very difficult to identify the faults, and it requires more time to repair. If it is underground, that is visible, we can find, we can identify the fault easily, and we can repair easily, right? So it much more time is required for the repairing also, and much more time is required to identify the faults in case of means underground network system. Cost of repair fault, if any fault is there and you have to repair it, right? So cost of repairing cost of this underground system is very expensive, right? So as we can consider, is 10 times more than the overhead network system, right? Because it is trenches, it is locations and cable splicing and reembedment, right? So that for that purpose it require more and more cost in case of underground system. Line outage durations, if it is repair time is required in underground system is more, service to customer may be disrupted for long time in underground system. However, the time duration of customer outage can be reduced by using additional feeders with ring main units in underground system, right? So if it is any fault in particular area, right, so we have to switch off the lines, or we have to switch off the powers for particular that area, and from other areas we have to supply the lines if it is very long durations, or if it is 2 days or 3 days or 4 days. So we cannot stop whole supply, right? We have to stop particular area and we have to repair as early as possible. So outage duration also more as compared to the overhead network system. Line modification. So in case of overhead lines, easily tapped and rerouted or modified. Yes, means in case of overhead lines, we can modify if we want to change the lines, or if we want to modify, or if you want to supply the lines, or to means you have to convert the lines from 11 kilowatt to 33 kilowatt. So we can easily modify, right? So it is very difficult in case of underground lines to modify, or the cables have been laid, right? Effect from weather conditions. So in case of overhead lines, so there is more and more effects of weather conditions, right? So there are chances of some damages because of the weather conditions, right? So if it is hurricanes or cyclones or typhoons or tornadoes and other winds and freezing, right, then the underground system. Space requirements. So underground cables do not need physical ground space, as these are laid underground ground in the dedicated trenches, whereas overhead lines require corridors on ground along with the surrounding clearance strip permanently clear for safety and maintenance and repair, right? So for the underground system or underground network system, is require less space as compared to the overhead network system, right? Because the safety is very important, the site clearance is very important, maintenance is very important, repairing is also very important, right? So for that particular area or particular point, we can consider the less space is required for the underground cable. So hazard to life wildlife means if it is underground cables, we can consider less wildlife or less hazard to wildlife, but in case of overhead line there are less more chances of hazard to wildlife as compared to the overhead network system. Illegal connection, theft of power, or pillaging means in case of underground cable system there are less chances of illegal connections or theft of power, but in case of overhead system there are chances of illegal connections, right? So we can connect the wires without informing the suppliers or distributors. We can connect, or we can theft the power by connecting the wires, right? Aesthetic. So in case of underground system we can consider good look, but in case of overhead network system, so aesthetic view is not good as compared to the underground system, right? So there are some there are so many differences between these lines. There may be technical difficulty, installation difficulty, or there are some requirements or structural design, or the clearance and other things from the aesthetic point of view. But as compared to overhead system, underground system is good for the visible or for the aesthetic point of view. Now, construction stages of the transmission power lines. There are some steps we have to follow, and by using these steps we have to construct the transmission power lines, right? So now first step is transporting materials to the tower sites, building the foundations and anchors, assembling the tower, raising the towers, and drilling and installing the conductors, and installing the counterpoise wires, and restoring the site. Now first step is what type of materials is required. That materials you have to transport to the each tower site. So there are number of tower site, right? So for each tower, how much material is required, that you have to transport to the each site, right? The parts are carefully distributed, and the construction materials needed for each tower are left directly on the site where the tower will be built. Means where we have to build the tower, right? So once the locations is fixed and other parameters are fixed, then we have to transport the material. But while transporting the material, we have to take care of the materials, because there are chances of damages also while transporting the material. Now second part is the foundations, right? So we need some foundations because the it may be 9 meters or 13-meter towers. A heavy loads we can consider, or because of the wind, or because of the earthquake also, there are chances of some movements, and there are chances of collapses also, right? From the stability point of view, we have to set up the good foundations, right? So construction team begins by clearing the project area. Means we have to clear the site, right? So whatever the area is required, the project area is required, you have to clear the site. That is the first step. The workers carefully set aside the topsoil which will be reused during the excavation for the foundation that will stabilize the tower. Pumping may be required to remove the water and dry the site, right? So during the excavations, right? So first step is the clearing the site. So after that, whatever the unwanted materials on that particular, you have to side it, and top of the soils you have to side it, and again you have to use that soil for the leveling purpose or dumping purpose, right? But suppose if it is excavation, right, it may be 2 meter or 3 meter, right? So in that particular area, there are some chance of dewatering also, right? So dewatering means just you have to remove the water from the trenches, and particularly that area should be in dry conditions so that we can start the foundation. The size of excavation site depends on the type of soil and type of the tower, right? So size of excavation, right? So we cannot decide the sizes, right? But we have to design and which type of soil is there and which type of tower is there, right? So according to that you have to decide the size of the foundations or excavation. Anchors depends on the type of tower installed. So anchoring anchors we have to use some anchoring system also, that is depends upon the tower system. The foundation depends on the type of tower and soil and depth of the bedrock, right? So foundation, there are different type of foundation. It may be shallow foundation or it may be deep foundation, right? But it depends upon the type of tower and depends upon the soil, whether it is non-cohesive soil or non-cohesive soil. If hard rock is not available at 1.5 meter, then we have to go more depth, right? So according to that we have to decide the foundation, right? So type of tower, soil and depth of the bedrock, according to that conditions we have to decide the depth of the foundations or which type of foundation is suitable for that particular location. Concrete foundation are poured and sill support for sill supporting and tubular towers, right? So there are different type of foundation, that is concrete foundation and steel lattice foundation and pipe foundations, right? If load carrying capacity of soil is not good or very loose soil, then we have to go for the pile foundations. And then after that the third stage is assembling the towers, right? So you can see in the images how they are assembling the towers. It may be connections of two members, it may be a raft, it may be strut, or it may be rafters, purlins, right? So these are some steel structures, right? Right. So we have to connect properly. Spacing is also important. Then bracings also we have to use, right? So assembling these parts for the particular towers, right? So it is very heavy equipment, right? For that particular connections we have to use some cranes also for handling the materials. So after that raising the towers. Once the tower is assembled on the ground, it is raised using telescopic crane. Once means assembly means each parts is connected, right? So then we have to raise, or we have to lift that towers in vertical directions. So by using telescopic crane we have to raise the towers. So unreeling and installing the conductors, right? So once the tower is fixed, then we have to unreeling or installing the conductors. Means just you have to give the lines, right? So the wires you have to install from one point to another point, or one line to another line, right? So wires maybe in drum or maybe in wounded types, right? So you can see in the images, so how the drums are lifting, or how they are distributing or from one point to another point. That is the unreeling and installing the conductors, right? So in one drums you can use the cable system like 2 to 3 kilometers for raising or for to push up the wires from one side to another side. So we have to use some equipments or to pull the wires, or to pulling system is required, right? So we have to use some specialized equipment, and by using this equipment we can attach, or we can just connect the cables from one point to another points. We have to pull it properly so that it should not be deflected positions, or it should not be any movement positions, right? So we have to connect properly, that is unreeling and installing conductor. Now sixth step is installing the counterpose wires, right? So once installation the tower, then we have to use the cables or wires, then we have to use some counterpose, right? So why we have to use the counterpose for each tower? Because of the veins, or because of the some if not hard rock below the foundations or below the grounds, right? So there are some counterweight or counterpose the wires, right? So each towers we have to just tie it properly, and like a racking systems or like a supporting system, right? So that counterpose wires also we have to install properly. Or you can see the images how they reel at the front and repair at the back is used to install the counterpose wires, right? Now restoring the site means once the project is complete, so always restore the site by removing all debris and waste, means whatever the waste or whatever the debris material that we have to remove from the particular towers, or from the nearby the sites or nearby the towers. Leveling the ground, if the ground is unlevel during the installation, or during the assembling or during the excavation, right? Then we have to level it properly. Dismantling the temporary access is while constructing the underground lines or overhead lines. So if any road is constructed, or bridges is constructed, or culverts is constructed, that we can dismantle it, right? Repairing any infrastructure that was damaged during the work. Means if any infrastructure is damaged during the work, it may be roads, or it may be fences, or it may be trees, or any parts, or whatever the damage, that you have to repair it properly. Seeding or planting whenever is necessary based on the characteristics of the site. Means if you want to plant it on the power lines, or to the sides of the towers, right? So we can use the plants, but it depends upon the sites or locations. When work is carried out on a private land, the owners to ensure that they are satisfied with the restoration, right? Means if it is lines or transmission lines passing from the private lands, right? So if it is the owners or landowners should be satisfied with the conditions or restoration, right? And we have to give some compensations, so that he should also happy with that particular work. Right, we can see the images during construction and after construction, and you can see the final state of the 315 kilowatt supply lines or 230 kilowatt supply lines, right? But throughout the project, the site supervisors are role of the supervisors are very important. That is whatever the requirements is there from environmental point of view, or health point of view, or safety point of view, or quality point of view, that should be whatever the actions undertaken for this project, that should be fulfilled, and whatever the authority that will take care of the right. So conclusion. So in conclusion, just we have to understand the system, which system is good for the supply of lines, transmission lines from one point to another points or particular area. So there are some obstruction that whatever the obstruction that we have to clarify it, and we have to if any obstruction that we have to remove from the sides, and we have to install the proper lines, right? So whatever the specification, whatever the design, whatever the installation maintenance, that we have to take proper precautions, and just we have to transfer the lines from one point to another point, right? There are some losses, there are some environmental impacts also of the overhead network system and network system, but it should be safety point of view, or whatever the environmental impacts on the particular system, that we have to take care, and we have to give proper solution of the particular system.